Just think of it as the rough draft of the podcast world. This is the Newbie Writers Podcast with your hosts, Damien Boat and Catherine Bramkamp.
Hey, it's episode 166 of the Newbie Writers Podcast, and a bit of a different show this week. Catherine couldn't be bothered being on. No, it's not true. She's got something to do, so I've got Dion Lister filling in. Thanks, Dion.
That's all right. And yes, I am not Catherine. I'm Dion.
For I am. Yes. And then it's not every day that you get to interview a serial killer, a murderer, and a cheap one at that. We've got Nathan Weaver on today. Nathan, welcome. I am still alive. Just.
Well, then I didn't do my job very good.
Yeah, well, look, it was $5 well spent.
You get what you pay for.
Pretty much.
Actually, and was that $5 US? Because that's like $20 Australian.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how it worked out. But yeah, that's why I've got Nathan on, because I want to talk to him about this, because it's such a cool idea about, I don't know, give a bit of money to an author and they can do whatever they want to you. It's a cool concept. How did you come up with it? At what point were you sitting back going, I think I might start shooting people?
Okay. My family, we recently moved, and my wife got a much better job because she was finishing her master's. And and then I was looking for a job. Mm-hmm. And then I decided to start doing some freelance stuff and working from home. And I was like, you know what? I should probably start making money from my writing after all these years. And somebody had mentioned Fiverr as kind of for different things.
Yes.
And when I looked at it, as I was looking at it, I mean, it's filled with so much stuff. Mm. And so much of the stuff it's filled with, and I'm not dissing it, but a lot of the stuff that it's filled with is the same stuff, Mm. And I was like, if you put yourself on Fiverr, but you're one of the million options doing the same thing, good luck. But so I did. I had the thought of what's the craziest thing I could do, most unique, creative thing I could do, that when people saw it, there would be nobody else on Fiverr doing it, and people would go for it. And apparently that was my insane idea, which was I will kill you for $5.
So cool. Now,
which is the title of it.
With Fiverr, I think actually, Dion, when you were on last.
Yes.
All right.
People buy book reviews from Fiverr, which you probably know if you've been around there. And
oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's what it's for.
Actually, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
You didn't know that? No, it's not awesome. You're buying a guaranteed 5-star review. So people that write really shit books. Oh, can I say that? Yes, I can say.
You can say that. It's the other word you can't do because I don't have the rooster sound ready.
Yeah, it's no.
Poop? You can't say poop?
No.
Yeah.
I scared you, didn't I? You almost had the rooster noise ready. But anyway, you can buy guaranteed reviews on there. And so there's these really horrendous books that haven't been edited and they look like they were written by a 10-year-old. And they've got like 100 5-star reviews. It's just really, really bad. So readers, don't rely on the reviews. Take them with a grain of salt. Some are legitimate, but some aren't. So read a sample.
So, yeah.
Anyway, back to what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Don't get random rant.
Yeah, don't get her started on Fiverr.
No, today's not the day. It's Sunday.
So what you're saying is if I really want to make money, I need to put up a review gig.
Yeah.
On Fiverr. I will write 5-star reviews. And then put fine print that says if it's good. And then give them a 1-star review.
No, and then you could have a sliding scale. So it's $5 for 5 stars, $3 for 3 stars. Or, $1 for 1 star.
Well, I thought you could do the opposite thing. Like if you really wanted to screw these people and you had a lot of money, you could just go and pay for a shitload of 1-star reviews for them.
It's a good idea.
Oh, that's terrible.
No, it's the way it works.
As terrible as what they're doing.
It's something. Well, see, that's the thing. It makes me think of like with self-publishing, it's amazing. I'm glad it's there. And I have stuff self-published, but it's opened an amazing world of where there's stuff being written that we never would have gotten to read that is amazing.
Yes.
But then it's also opened this scary world where it's almost like people who make their money writing junk mail emails go, I could also make money self-publishing, I don't know. But like, yeah, you open their book and go, what is this?
Hey, that's a cool
Nobody
idea.
edited this.
I think it's almost like even, there's all the stuff that goes around social media, the jokes about, lucky social media wasn't around when I was a teenager. So that applies to me because I'm getting on. But it's the same thing with these people. Like, self-publishing is around, but maybe it shouldn't be for them because they're 20 or they're 18 or even if they're 30 and they don't even have time to develop their writing and they just put the first friggin' story out there without doing anything to it. No, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, I don't think it's really a level of that. I think it's a level of that people need to realize that they do need to have a filter between what they write and what they published.
It's called an editor.
Because, yeah, exactly. It's called an editor.
But that's the thing. See, they don't realize it and they're coming from a very naive point of view and they think I can just write something and put it out there. No, please don't do that.
Well, would you, please?
But I think, what about, you mentioned, having spam emails and then those people publishing them. What a cool concept. Why not take a spam email and actually publish it and extend it on a bit? Except you have to,
a book of spam emails.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Like a book of essays, or a book of poems, but it's all spam email.
You actually don't need to do that. You just look in your junk folder in your email.
Yeah, but collect them.
Perfect. I'll just publish them. I don't even have to write them.
Would you get in trouble?
What are they going to do? Come out of the woodwork and sue me?
Exactly.
And be like, oh yeah, that was me. I was trying to scam you. And now I'm suing. I mean, they're not going to come out of the woodwork and sue me for stealing their work.
See,
but who wants to buy a book of those because you've got them in your junk folder?
Yeah. But, think about it. You could have the life and times of a Nigerian prince. And he's got all this surplus money that he's trying to give away. And you could have the correspondence, the love letters to you. Or, that's the other thing. Russian.
Some Nigerian prince sitting in his room with his laptop going, I got to get rid of this money. Yeah. Nobody will take it.
And
he's got a whole call center of people just waiting for people to reply to the money.
Yeah. And you could have then love letters from Russia, and you could have all the Russian bride emails that I seem to be getting. I don't know why I'm getting them lately.
At my previous job, when I first started there, our IT apparently really stunk at blocking junk mail. And we got so much garbage. And it was hilarious because one of the things we got a lot was about, a guy's thing not being long enough.
Erectile dysfunction.
Yeah. No, not ED, but maybe. But it depends.
Not ED. It's got we shorten it now, do we? Jesus.
Yeah.
No, but or it'd be having trouble. I remember a lot of times the subjects were having trouble pleasing her with this pill, whatever. And
this pill you can knock her unconscious.
Yeah,
it wasn't that kind of pill.
In 2 easy steps, you can Bill Cosby your wife. Yeah.
Oh,
anyway. Too soon.
Oh dear.
So, but the funny part was, I remember a coworker telling me that she got those, and I was like, "You get them?"
Yeah, I've had them.
It's like I can understand why I get them. I'm a guy, but it's why are they sending them to women?
It's random.
If you're having trouble, if you're having trouble having that kind of a relationship with your husband, I'm pretty certain.
Well, here's the thing. Did they
Adding a
actually
penis
work?
to your body is not going to make your husband more comfortable.
It
I
might.
could be wrong.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
but-
maybe that's why they're having trouble.
I just wonder if it actually works. Like, that's not the right sentence. If people actually fall for it, but they must do. I was
Well,
thinking
they
this the other
must, or
day.
they wouldn't do it, would they?
Yeah. I get this morning. Like, I checked my emails last night before I went to bed. This morning, I got 115 spam emails this morning.
What sites are you going to?
I'm going to newbiewriters.com and
They're following you around. The cookies are following you.
what was that other site that I went to? Booktastic.com.
With a K at the end. Don't forget the K.
Oh, right. Yes. Get a lot of spam from them. No, I don't.
Don't spam from them.
I don't know. I don't know why. I just get spam.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I have a question for Nathan.
Oh.
With this $5 deal, how popular has it been?
It was really funny. Like, I launched it, and then I just I posted a link to it on my Google Plus, and within the first 2 weeks, I think I had written like 4 or 5 posts. Like, it had like 4 or 5 stories. It had like a bit of a ripple effect right off the bat, and which I know 4 or 5 stories doesn't sound like much, but when you only have 7 days from the point that they order it to the point that you're supposed to be done with it, that's enough for me. Like, there was 1 week where I had like 2 stories that I was working on at once, where one was due like 2 days after the other one was due. And I was like, ugh.
And how many words are they? How many words are they generally?
I didn't put a limit on it. Like, I thought about that when I was creating it. I didn't put a limit, but it's I think in the description I called it flash fiction or short story, so that I had the liberty to decide at the moment, just depending upon, because I was like, 7 days. If I don't have much inspiration, I may just want to write flash fiction.
Yeah.
So, but so far, out of the first 4 or 5 that I've written, I'm trying to remember. It was between 2,000 and 5,000 maybe words, something like that. Was kind of like, I think there was maybe one that was around 2,000 to 3,000, and then the other ones were generally around 4,000, I think.
Gee, that's quite long. Like, that's a lot of writing. So my next question, which, because you're obviously spending all that time writing so many words when you could be writing a book or something, you obviously own the copyright, but the people have paid you for a story. So have they commissioned you for a story that they can then go and publish?
The way I've set it up is that they own the right to reshare it as much as they want and copy it as much as they want, but they can't publish it.
Okay. So there is a disclaimer there.
Yeah, but then I also have somewhere in there, I don't remember where, I have that basically if I get enough, that I will compile them together and have them edited and then release them as a volume,
So what would you call yourself then? Nathan the Serial Killer?
Yeah.
Well, I would probably just call it something like "I'll Kill You for $5" Volume 1 or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, if it's actually taking off and I have enough, then you'll want to brand it, and then.
Well, you could call it Escapades in Serial
and make it a volume. Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
Escapades.
But you'd have to have such a massive ego to take this and publish it like yourself. If I was to take my story and go and publish it and claim it as my own, I mean, it's all about me.
You could even write your own story. Hey, has anyone done that? Written their own story where they killed themselves? They probably have.
I can't
write
think
yourself
of
into a story and kill yourself.
But you sort of back yourself into a corner then.
That's a suicide story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, maybe that's what? I don't know.
Suicide story. How many ways can I kill myself?
Oh man.
That would be really screwed up. That'll be my next gig.
Well, well, that's the other thing.
You can hire me to write a story where you kill yourself.
Or where you kill me. Like, what? How do you want me to kill myself?
Well, the interesting thing about it is I've had a lot of suggestions because on Fiverr you can add, like, to a gig, you can add like bonuses, like where they can go through and check and add extra things to the thing at more cost. But like, and I thought about adding other things, and I've actually gotten some input from other people about ideas about cool things to add. One of the things, though, that's been suggested by 2 or 3 people now, I think, is the idea of having an extra package you could tack on where you could add other people to it.
Okay. You could also say to people,
or where it could be that you're killing someone else or something like that.
Oh, yes.
And I'm like, yeah, I've thought of that, but
yes.
Once people start using it as a means to kill their boss,
Yeah.
I'm not sure I want to get between that,
Have you had anyone request that they have a sex scene?
Why do you go there all the time?
You know what? That would be really popular. I will write you into a sex scene. I reckon that would get heaps more purchases.
But could you add the extra package then? Package.
Package.
We need Mel Craig on here. Which, do you want to add a plentiful package to it? But you could, could you then say, well, I want to be this
package of fantasizing about Daniel Craig during your story?
Yeah.
Well, hang on. You say I'll pay you $6 to have you write a sex scene about me, but can I pay another $5 to have you add, I don't know, some random other person? I don't know.
Well, you've asked me like 20 questions and I haven't answered any of them.
Meh.
All related to sex.
I know.
I'll start with the first one, which was no, nobody's asked.
Well, they have now.
That I write a sex scene in. But now that you've brought it up...
That's funny, but you could charge.
If anybody listens to your podcast, I may get that request.
How rude, if anyone listens.
Yeah, well, Dion's on.
I don't have the data. I don't see your
teasing.
stats.
I'm teasing.
Well, Dion's on the show now, so she doesn't need to listen. So we don't have any listeners this week. It's fine.
Oh, that's terrible.
And I only listened because I was going to be on it.
Correct.
I didn't know what it was about.
So
maybe Catherine's listening, but I doubt.
It's unlikely. So after 160 shows, she's only listened to like 2.
If you've had 166 shows, surely there's been some listeners.
Yeah, we got a few.
There was a nice pause there.
I'm just trying to think of the number.
Everyone's like,
He had to count it on one hand.
Yeah, I know.
I think copies have been ordered for Guantanamo prisoners. I don't know.
Oh, see, look. Now I'm thinking about people in Guantanamo Bay going, new episode of Newbie Writers is out. Quick, get the iPod.
All right.
Do you mind if I rent out the iPod? Because I don't want to do my weight training outside today. I want to listen to Newbie Writers.
Yeah, and I want to get in touch with that guy from Fiverr and see if he'll write me an escape story.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, but you have to die, so I guess
you can just see it. They take all the effort to get out of there, and then they get out, and they're walking across the road and they get run over or something.
Oh, that's just mean. It's just mean-spirited.
That's what we do. But I did think it was interesting though when I was going through the process of went to Fiverr, paid, that sort of thing, and answered the question. I think you sent me an email going, "Look, I'll get onto this as soon as possible," and my response was, "Don't stress. You can get back to me in like a month or so." And you're like, "No, I've got to get back to you in 7 days." And is that, on the flip side, a good thing? Because we always talk about on this show about giving deadlines to writers. Otherwise, it'll just drag on and on and on. Did you
Deadlines. Deadlines. Get it?
Stop it. Did you find that having a end
I'm so
point...
glad you have a pun caster.
Yeah.
I love it.
Can't wait for the cliche show.
So you're asking a question about deadlines.
Yeah. Did you find it was good though? Helpful in that sense?
Yeah. Well, the thing of it, I'm as a general rule, I'm a firm believer in deadlines, and I'm even more of a firm believer in ridiculous deadlines, like deadlines that are like, I need this tomorrow, and then you're like, Well, that being said, I don't like it when somebody says that, I guess. But like when you have a deadline that's unrealistic, like somebody just ordered, like my favorite is like when I forget to check into Fiverr and then I check in and there's been an order sitting there for 2 days and I've lost 2 days. Now I only have 5 days to write the story. But it just gets even the ridiculousness of the deadline of that. I have to write a short story in 7 days, but not just write it. And to me, just writing it and then sharing it would be stupid. I have to write it and then at least sleep on it once and go through and tweak it and edit it. Otherwise, it'll be really bad. You know what I mean? You'll have like horrible first draft mistakes. But so that's kind of how I would do it. Is I try to focus it of get a first draft written as fast as possible, and then sleep on it for a day or two, and then come back and tweak and edit, and then publish it to the blog and share the DRM or the ebook files and that sort of stuff.
Do you have to
guarantee?
Do you have to, or do you create various scenarios outside of any orders from Fiverr, so that way you've got like a little stock you can pull on? So if you are 2 days behind, you can go, all right, well, I had a story where he was maimed by penguins. I'm going to, that'll do, and just pull that in.
What a slow way to die.
Maimed by penguins.
Yeah.
It's a good
Somebody
story.
signs up who happens to be a penguin trainer. I can see that. I can see that.
Tweak it to anything. He goes to the zoo.
Actually, sorry.
I was going to say you could tweak it to anything. He goes to the zoo and all of a sudden the penguins are zombified and I don't know.
Zombified penguins. That's cool.
Choose his face off. But yeah, do you start?
And they already walk slow anyway. So let's. No, I haven't done that, but that's actually a really good idea. I think I'll steal it.
Okay.
But the second thing I'll add to that is I have done some of that, I guess, where I'm using stuff that wasn't like that I didn't create from scratch for the story. Like the first couple of stories I did were science fiction, or one was science fiction, I guess, and the other one was kind of a post-apocalyptic or something in a second ice age in the future kind of thing. And those stories were built upon books that I've been planning. So the story, the worlds, and things like that, I was just writing a world that I already knew. I was just creating a side story in it. So in that regard, I kind of have, I guess. But like the one thing that was really interesting is the one story that has, I don't know, I think it was the second story, but there's a story where it's in a second ice age. It takes place in the quote unquote White House, which is like another version of the White House in DC that they've rebuilt, but it's basically like an underground bunker kind of thing. But like it revolves around the bartender in like the lounge basically, and she's the character, she's the person that actually paid for it. But that story, what ends up happening in that story is actually happens in a book that I had been developing. But so it's actually a scene in the book, but I wrote it from a completely different perspective. Like there's the characters that are in that scene are characters that would actually be in my book. But the main character is actually more of like a very tiny supporting role. So in the short story.
What do you I was going to say, what are you going to do if you've written a very short story, someone's paid you the $5 and you say, here you go, what do you think? And they come back to you and go, I don't like it. What's the comeback for that? Like, I mean, obviously, the moment, you know, I've seen the posts of the other people that you've killed off, and like, this is awesome. And, you know, I liked it enough that you're on my show, so it's fine. But at some point, you can always get that one idiot who's like, well, I don't like it. What's the cause for that?
That sounds like Pauline Hanson.
I don't like it. Yeah.
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
It's very similar.
Sounds like a cockatoo.
I don't like it.
Like it.
Oh, I'm going to cut that out now, and I'm going to.
No.
Every time Dion swears on this show, I'm going to have.
So, well, I haven't had anybody not like it yet, which is good. But one of the things I try to do with each one is I try to get background on them. And I think that helps a lot because then I'm writing stuff into the story that relates to them on a personal level.
Yeah.
So like,
good idea.
Stop it.
Imagine doing a whole interview like that.
No. God damn.
How about we not do that?
Yeah.
Do it one day.
Maybe one day, like April 1st would be a good day.
Oh God,
So,
if everyone spoke like that.
Oh,
an hour of after every sentence would probably.
My grandfather
I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing.
Doesn't have the same impact.
no.
All right.
God,
Well,
she's lost it now. I'm gonna mute her.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can we block her?
No.
I'm just- So to answer that, like some of the people that have signed up have been people that I knew or were already, I guess you can't call friends. They were people I like to say that I had lassoed on Google Plus because you circle people.
Yeah.
And or there's only been, I think, one person that actually bought so far that was somebody I never knew from anything. And so I don't remember prying anything out of her. And I think I don't remember if I even looked at any of her social media or anything. I think I just looked at her pictures and went from there. But that was the only one and that was actually for the story, the post-apocalyptic one, the second Ice Age one. But the picture she sent me was hilarious. It was like this really nicely done photograph of her in like this Renaissance dress, you know. And that was, you know, and so then I put her in this like post-apocalyptic Western second Ice Age. She's the bartender. You know? So, but so it fit really well, you know.
You could have made her a pirate, and she could have had her own parrot.
Exactly. I mean, that you just as easily could have done that.
And what would that sound like, Dion? Oh, God.
Whereas other ones were people that I actually went to their social media and scrolled through their posts and their about, and sometimes I already knew enough about them. I didn't really have to, but I would be able to go through that. One person was somebody I actually knew in real life and had worked with before. And so I knew a lot about her, and I was able to, like, I was able to rope in a bunch of information about her into the story, you know. And it's not that I'm writing that person, you know, per se, but that I can use those elements to write a story that emphasizes something I know they like or love. So like there was one person that I knew that like she described herself as like really geeky and nerdy, and she's really into computers and tech and stuff. And this was somebody on Google Plus, and so I wrote her into this science fiction piece where she was like hacking into a bank and stuff. And so like, you know, just sort of trying to pull upon and hope that that's sufficient enough.
Well,
you know, that when they read it, it's something that they like, you know, or like with you, Damien, you know, you talked about that you liked B grade horror films and fantasy stories and different stuff. And then I wrote a short story that was like a B-grade horror story, and you were this monstrosity of a serial killer in a knight's armor walking around slashing women in the night. So
which we'll read a bit out in a minute, but I showed the wife, I sent a link to her. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna have this guy on and check this link out. Didn't tell her anything else about it. Didn't say it was like me being killed off or whatever. And all I got was a Skype message going, wow. Like, don't get any ideas, woman. Don't, come home to find her in an outfit of a knight's thing. But anyway. I don't know. Stop it.
I thought I would throw that in. She had been really quiet, so I thought I would throw that in.
Oh, Jesus.
Just listening.
You're just listening.
I'm just listening.
There's a first. No, I had a question, but I got sidetracked now.
I'm being you. Normally, Catherine does all the talking and you just sit there. Is that what happens? Or
no, that never happens. I'm the one jumping in half the time. Silly comments.
You've just created animosity between him and the co-host.
That's what she's deliberately trying to do. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. I saw that. That's what happened.
Yes.
She's going to list. Catherine's going to listen and be like, "What?"
Yeah, but no, because she doesn't listen. I mentioned on our show last week. That's right. That for some for years and years, I've been trying to sort of gain weight, and I said, you asked for my weight, which I thought was such a strange question. It's like, why do you need to know my weight? And then you came back and went, oh, yeah, he's like 200 pounds. I'm like, hang a minute. Back up a little bit. And then I think I mentioned it to Dion. I'm like, come on. What do you reckon? And you came back on, I reckon you're about this sort of size. I'm like, what is wrong with people thinking I'm fat? So finally now, after 32 years, I'm finally at that point where people think I'm bigger than I am.
But, muscle weighs more than fat.
Oh, look, don't try and get out of it now. Yeah.
I don't think you're fat. All I had was that silly, what is it, the video that you didn't even send me a picture. You sent me to go look at your video where you got
the ice bucket challenge.
The ice bucket challenge. I was blanking. The ice bucket challenge, which was just you standing there going, I'm going to get dumped on, and then you got dumped on. And
dumped
that
on
was really
means something a bit different.
I know that. But
you have to stand under an elephant.
Yeah, that'd be it.
But yeah. But as I recall, though, didn't I initially, what did I say? What was my guess?
It's like
initially
200 and something pounds, wasn't it? And I said, it's about
I wasn't that far off.
80 kilos, which I don't know what that worked out to be, like 100 and something pounds.
Yeah. Times 2.2.
I don't know. I think I was like 30 or 50 pounds off.
Yeah, which I'd love to be at that weight, but anyway.
Whatever.
Speaking of which, you mentioned, was it yesterday we were talking, that you were doing stand-up, or you've got into doing stand-up comedy.
Oh. That's
easy. As opposed to sitting.
Yeah, I know. But how do you get into that? Like, at what point do you go, oh, yeah, I'm going to stand up here in front of all these people and try to be funny?
Well, it's something I've wanted to do for years, but I lived in a small town, so there was nowhere to do it. And to do that, to really get into it, you have to be kind of in a bigger area, a big city or something where they have comedy clubs and things like that. But, and then you go to open mics and stuff, and you just basically go up there and go, fillet me, because it's, and you crash and burn like crazy until eventually something works.
Did you come up with your opening line? I've noticed, because I watch a lot of comedy on YouTube, and it seems that comedians always have their opening line. It might be just something simple like, hey, how are ya? I don't know what it's.
Have I come up with
a greeting? A greeting?
A good opening line would be,
hey.
I think maybe I should do the fillet me. Hey, fillet me. But I mean, because it's so like, it's hard. Obviously, it's really nerve wracking and hard. And I mean, I'm a trained actor, but like doing acting versus this is like two different things. And it's like, I mean, I've done lots of comedy, but to just go up there is kind of as yourself and just in front of a bunch of people and just be like, please don't hurt me. Because I mean, if you're bombing and no one's laughing, I mean, it's just like you're just like, oh, I just want to go home. You know what I mean?
Can you call it?
It's scary because if you like me, a lot of people don't laugh at my sense of humor if I'm just standing around with friends. And
I haven't laughed at all.
Well, yeah. Well, I'll figure that I find myself funny, but a lot of people don't. And I can't imagine being on a stage with 100 times that amount of people not laughing when they're supposed to.
Yeah. And can you, like on an open mic night, can you cut it short? Can you say, right, well, you've been wonderful as a silent librarian audience. I'm off. And just, you know.
Well, you know what else you could do?
You
could torture them. You could torture your audience. You could take some food, and if they're not laughing, you just chew it really loudly into the microphone.
Oh,
torture them.
That is my pet peeve. Can't do it. You know. When I hear that, I'm sorry. Where's the chaff bag? Should we strap it to your face? Oh.
Okay. For me, here's 2 weeks. I guess I've been doing it for a month and a half or two at this one open mic, and I kind of cheated in that there's actually several open mics in St. Louis, but I heard about this one open mic that was actually at a coffee shop, not a comedy club.
For deaf
and I
people.
was like, a coffee shop?
For deaf people. Open mic night for deaf people.
And you wouldn't get upset if they didn't laugh.
Oh, God.
So I was like, I'm going to do that, even though there's probably not going to be any other stand-up comedians there. I'll start there because it'll be a coffee shop. It won't necessarily be the audience that I want, for my humor, but it'll be a much more welcoming environment to start, because it's going to be people that are there that are a lot more laid back. They're not there to judge your comedy. So, so I did. I went there, and it was like, I was the lone stand-up comedian for the first several weeks, and then a few other people started trying comedy. But I was like the lone stand-up comedian among folk singers and bluegrass singers and poets and
at least there was no one that
pros
in the comedy department.
That's true.
But wouldn't then that also be hard to do, because the audience there isn't necessarily prepared to laugh? Like you go to a comedy club, there's a bit of that hype of going, well, I'm here to see comedians, so I'll just start laughing at them.
It is and it isn't. Like, it's harder in the sense that if they're not really there, they're kind of surprised by it. You know what I mean? They're like, what? I've gone there long enough now that a lot of the people know me. But like, yeah, in the beginning it was like, what? But they're like, what are we supposed to do?
But at a coffee shop, I think it's worse because there's food available. They could start throwing food at you.
Chicken wire fence.
But at a comedy club, they're there to laugh, but at the same time, if they're not laughing, they get frustrated. They boo you. You know what I mean? They can be a really harsh crowd. And so that always freaked me out. And I was like, I viewed the coffee shop as a chance to do it for the first time in an environment where they wouldn't be as judgmental. That was kind of my take on it. Even if I got up there and bombed, I would have more support. And yeah, I get up there and I bomb sometimes, and I get up there and they're in stitches sometimes. But like, and like I said, I recognize that's not necessarily the audience I should be going for my stuff. But it's also teaching me, like, on the one hand, it's like, it's teaching me what's working and what's not. But on the other hand, it's also teaching me that horrible learning thing of what if you have an audience that isn't your audience? Then what, you know?
Can I ask a question and relate it back to the writing aspect? Have you done any courses on, I'm going to anyway, have you done any courses on comedy writing, or have you read any books on comedy writing to do your comedy routines? Because I imagine that it takes quite a bit of preparation.
No, like I've not done those things. For me, like research wise, it's watching comedians. You know, it's watching the comedians you love and being able to analyze what they do that makes you love it. That's one part of it. The other part of it, not, you know, you don't copy it, but you analyze it and go, what are they doing?
Yeah.
That has me hooked, that I admire so much, or whatever. But then there's the other aspect, you know, and then sometimes, you know, if you can, you know, find some interviews or something or whatever of those comedians talking about doing it and things. Now, one thing that's really interesting is Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld has a new TV series he's been doing for a couple of years. Have you guys seen that?
I can't stand Seinfeld.
You said this the other day. I really like Seinfeld. And actually, a friend of mine just sent me a link last night, actually, about because I'm looking at doing a web series, but I won't talk about it now because we haven't done anything yet. And I don't want to talk about it.
Don't do it.
No, she's an actress and she has all these contacts. But anyway, that's another whole story. But she sent me a thing about the web series Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee.
That's what I was going to bring up.
Well, that's a web series.
Yeah, I said TV. I was going to correct myself, but yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a web series, and I actually watched the episode with Ricky Gervais this morning, and it was quite funny.
He's funny. I like him.
Yeah.
Just don't like Seinfeld.
Well, Seinfeld has this web series called Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, which is about comedians in cars getting coffee, just about. But basically, each episode, it's him and another comedian. He picks them up from somewhere. They drive in some vehicle he's picked out specifically for them. They drive to a coffee shop or wherever. They go around. They walk around. And the whole time they're just talking. And there's just cameras following them, or they're planted. They use GoPros a lot. They'll plant GoPros in like the cars and just a bunch of different things. But like that's a really interesting series to watch if you're into stand-up or trying to get into stand-up. Because it's just a bunch of comedians, and not all the time, but most of the time, they're talking about the craft. So a good portion of the time, they're actually talking about the craft, about how they do it, or the fails they had, or whatever. You know, they talk about experiences a lot of times. So it's really, so that's cool. But then in general, just if you can find interviews sometimes where comedians are talking about it, can be rather enlightening.
So why
go ahead.
I was gonna say, why do comedians always seem to catch a cab to the show? I see so many comedians go, well, I was in a taxi on the way here. I saw a fat person. It's like,
is it because everything's in New York and they don't want to drive and there's no parking?
Because they're poor, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Is there a go-to? There seems to be like a go-to formula. Like
I was in a cab on the way here.
Yeah, and it just gets you into your routine. I was on the bus.
Yeah.
Well, you could be original and say you rode your bike.
Oh God.
I don't own a bike though, so I mean.
You could have borrowed your wife's and it had a nice basket with some flowers on it.
Sweet.
What about
the other thing, talking about it from a writing perspective, the other thing for me about stand-up was like, I don't know, like 7 years ago or something, I sat down, I made the commitment that I wanted to do it and that I wanted to start developing a routine, you know, of some kind, a platform, you know, whatever it was, you know. I had certain things I knew I didn't want to do. You know, I didn't want to be an impressionist, even though I can do impersonations. I didn't want to be a persona, you know what I mean? Like I didn't want to be like Larry the Cable Guy or whatever. so I didn't want to play a character, and I didn't want to be stuck doing impersonations. Like I said, even though I can, I don't want to just, if that's the only thing I got, shoot me in the face, please.
What about though if you go to one of these open mic nights and you said there's other comedians there now, and one of them happens to sort of get up before you and does his routine, and you're standing there or sitting there going, crap, he's talking about the same things that I'm going to talk about. What do you do?
I don't know that I've necessarily had that happen yet. But one of the big things for me in general is, like when I go to the open mic, is if I get to watch people before, and I like getting to watch people do stuff before. Although, yes, it can be kind of frustrating if somebody gets up and does something really well right before you, because then like you want to get up and be like, you know, I'm supposed to be better than that, you know. So, but like the nice thing about having people go before you is I like ad lib. So if I can, and I'm usually, as I'm watching other acts, I'm usually looking for things that I can reference when I get up there. Because I've kind of developed a habit where, because you only have like 6 to 8 minutes usually. So a lot of times I'll get up and I'll kind of start off with some short jokes, like some shorter stuff, and then tell a story or go through a concept or something. And like dating and how and stuff, whatever. And so like, but a lot of times I'll start with the short joke stuff. Sometimes if there's some things I can reference that have happened that night, I can get up and I can reference those things and I have some jokes on those things. And the nice thing, sometimes that's a really good icebreaker, because as a general rule, people like it when they can tell you're ad-libbing.
Have you ever been heckled? Get off.
Not really yet, no.
Oh, give it time.
Because like I said, I've been cheating. I've been going to a coffee house. They don't really heckle at a coffee house, you know. Actually, I kind of somewhat got heckled the other night, but it was because they know me, you know, and I try to be as casual as possible, you know, and sometimes I interact with people if I can. And let's see, last week I bombed. I totally bombed. My jokes were falling bad. And a lot of it was I just wasn't in it. Like I didn't realize it until I got up there, and I was just like, dude, I don't have the energy for this tonight. And then like what a way to find out halfway through it and be like, man, I wish I'd have known that before, you know.
You could have made that into the joke.
So then this week, Wednesday, I got up there and I just flat out was talking about it. I was like, yeah, I bombed last week, so this week that's not going to happen. You know? And I was really bad. I was really bad. And my description of it was, last week I bombed like a fart on a first date. That was fun. And this one older guy who's usually there when I'm there goes, "It was worse." And I was like, thanks. Thanks a lot, you know.
Well,
but
we've got some things we need to do. We're going to move on. Time's pushing away, but I want to read out a little bit of the story that you wrote about me. So if you've got it in front of you,
okay.
I want to do a little bit. Dion, have you got it open? Because I want you to do a little bit.
Oh, open. Where is it?
Oh, I don't know. Didn't I send you the link?
Oh, was that a link to the story? Sorry.
Yeah.
I just thought it was for his bio
Click
stuff.
on that.
Okay, I'm there now. No. But where's the story? Oh, it's there. Sorry. Where it says Damien Both's Festival of Horrors.
Dion does tech.
Okay, I'm here. I'm ready.
All right, scroll down to, I reckon there's that bit where, because there's a female role, so you get to be my.
Oh,
You're gonna make.
That's the third paragraph.
So he knocked on the door, I reckon. From there
It's
onwards.
pretty low down.
It's low down. Do I have to read it? No, it's okay. I'm trying to find it. I'm scrolling down.
So
down.
he knocked on the door.
Oh,
It
he
opened,
knocked on the door. It opened.
and a small, wrinkly woman was standing there. That can be where you start.
Okay.
That's horrible.
What do you want? Do you know how late it is?
So I reckon if Nathan can then be the cop.
Hold on. I'm trying to find that spot. I was in a different spot. He knocked on the door. Okay. It opened in a small, wrinkly woman.
No.
All
We've
right.
already done that, but you're up to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was just getting there.
Yeah.
Do I have to do an Australian accent?
No.
'Cause it's probably
No. You can be a weird American cop. Just don't shoot
in Australia.
Yeah.
Just blasted.
Don't shoot anyone.
Well, there's no black people in this story, so we're okay.
Oh, we went there. Okay.
You're the one that brought it up. I just pointed out the obvious. I live in St. Louis right now, so it's like
Anyway. So yes.
it's how we roll, apparently.
Awkward moments 101.
Sorry.
It opened and a small wrinkly woman was standing there, and
Oh,
so
God.
Dion.
Oh, do I have to do the line again?
No,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay.
I'm ready.
All right, so Nathan, if you start with the sorry to bother you.
Sorry to bother you, ma'am, he said politely.
Miss, Tate been married for years. Don't assume because I'm old I'm a ma'am.
Yes, my apologies, miss. I'm Officer Sanderson. We've had a murder take place out here on the street where you live. Wonder if you might have heard or noticed anything unusual tonight.
No more unusual than normal, except your accent has changed.
It's all over the board. All over the board.
Sorry.
Out here on the street where you live made me think of that My Fair Lady song, too. And I was like, oh,
Okay. Sorry, I changed.
all right. How do you mean? Is that better? How do you mean? How do you mean?
My son Damien thinks he's an artist. She explained and pulled a cigar out of her. Oh, do you want to be the narrator, Damien?
All right. She explained and pulled a cigar out of her bathrobe, which opened up and revealed her skimpy negligee that was scarcely clinging to her old body. He cringed, and she continued.
He likes making his stories.
Sure. But anything of the ordinary?
No, sir. Damien, I'm waiting.
Taking a big puff of the cigar.
Tate noticed nothing all night.
Okay. Thank you.
That was me blowing out the smoke.
I understood it. You were blowing. I got that.
Sight gag.
Thank you. May I speak with your son briefly? How old is he?
She looked him up and down and raised an eyebrow in interest. Sands cringed again.
Sure, officer. Come in.
She let him inside the little yellow house with the green shutters. He looked around and it was an utter mess. Stacks of magazines, newspapers and boxes were all over the place. Columns and columns of magazines and papers differing in size. He had to follow certain paths to get around. Top one small column of magazines was a bowl of cat food. He didn't notice any cats, but it smelled like something rotten. She took him down a path into the living room. There was one spot left on the couch between two columns of National Geographic magazines. He recalled a time he and his friends thumbed through them looking for native breasts of Africa.
Sit here.
She said and pushed him into the open spot of the couch. The magazines almost fell on him and he propped back up.
Let me go get Damien. You just sit here.
She wobbled out of the room and he noticed for the first time that one leg was longer than the other. God, thank God my mother hasn't read this. It had to be a dream. He was sure of it. He looked around the room, taking in the chaos of things. She had a bookshelf stocked with a collection of lava lamps. They were all plugged into a series of power cables which were plugged into one outlet. A fire waiting to happen. They're all turned on and creating a strange and colourful effect in the room. He looked around some more and saw a series of old lanterns on the dining table behind another couch across from him. That couch had two spots sunken in, which he assumed which he assumed meant that one was used more than his couch. The lanterns on the table were of various age and sizes.
Damien!
God, I took my headphones off then. He heard the old lady yelling down the hall. He heard the door open and more yelling. It was less distinct.
Something like that. Yeah.
Newbie writer's radio drama. He couldn't hear if Damien responded or not, but eventually he heard the door close again.
This is actually quite fun. You should do this more often.
We should. He then heard the heavy footfalls of someone much taller than the little lady who answered the door coming closer. Damien ducked under the entrance to the living room. Hello? And stepped inside. Sand sized him up to about 6'4", roughly 200 pounds, give or take about 30. He was wearing a long sleeve shirt and sweat stains under the armpits.
Oh, gross. I haven't been doing the washing.
Yeah, well, if you're walking around in negligee anyway. Sands noticed this as strange, as it was warm and no one was wearing long sleeves at the moment. He came over to the couch and sat down. Spreading his legs across two open spots on the couch, his mother returned to the dining room and started lighting up the lanterns on the dining room table.
Don't mind me.
Sands continued to study and look over Damien. He was certainly man enough to have perpetrated the crime, but that didn't make him guilty. He had no evidence linking him to the crime, but there was something about him that just made his gut churn, which usually meant he had just met the murderer.
I just have a few questions, if you don't mind, Damien.
I don't mind.
There was a murder out here on the street tonight. Were you aware of this?
Yes.
Did your mother tell you?
No.
She notice anything unusual tonight?
No.
Hear anything unusual?
Sands asked and then looked through his notebook to feign looking for his next question, implying his line of questioning was just something he was asking everybody. No. Damien's tone was always the same.
Where were you 3 hours ago?
Home. God, I feel like I'm from Labyrinth. Ludo sad. Anyway. Home.
Have you been here all night?
Yes. And all day too.
You didn't leave the house at all today? Not once. Not even to go for a walk. Get some fresh air? I mean, come on, this house isn't exactly a good source of oxygen.
Damien didn't laugh or even crack a smile. I think we'll leave it there because it's going to get on long, but yes.
Yes.
There you go. Bit of radio drama for you.
Just as I was about to get some good dialogue.
Oh, would you like? Okay, you can read the next bit then.
No, I'm just kidding.
Massive paragraph.
Yeah, but we got to focus on the negligee after that. Maybe we should move on.
Yes. We don't want to put Dion and a wrinkly body in an awkward position. Now, where can people find you out on the internet? And certainly, Spruik, where can people pay you $5 to be killed off?
You can find me at talesfrombabylon.com.
Cool. Twitter?
Babylon Tales is the handle.
Cool.
And then on Google Plus, I'm Nathan Weaver.
Well, it's been fun.
They do those names, you know.
Oh, can I ask a question, actually, just before we go? Is Weaver an author name you made up as in a weaver of tales, or is that your real name?
It's made up. No, it's not a made-up name. I would have never thought to make up a name like Weaver because I write stories. I don't want anyone to think I'm that
pretentious.
Corny.
Yeah.
No, Weaver is definitely my name. It probably traces back to we had some Cherokee in our ancestry, and so which means at one time we probably had some people who could weave. Don't ask me to weave anything though.
Oh, well, you can weave a story. Let's do a word of the week. Nathan, you're more than welcome to stick around if you do need to go. That's cool. Understand. But Catherine's she's written a paragraph here. I don't know what this means.
We'll soon find out.
Comes from a word a day with Anu Garg. couple of weeks ago, vowels had solos, and this week it's time for the chorus. Each word featured this week has all 5 vowels.
There you go.
Okay, so I don't even know how to pronounce that. Abstentious. Abstentious. What's to abstain? Self-restraining, especially in eating or drinking. Right. So who's going to use that? Anyway. Let's do a prompt. This prompt is along the lines of what Nathan writes. So imagine murder. What kind of character murders? Why? Write for 10 minutes thinking about getting into the mind of a crazed lunatic. Or just listen to this show and you can just get into the mind of Nathan. I mean, pay him $5, he'll do it.
Woohoo! That's cheating, though, if it's a writing prompt.
True. Or maybe the murder isn't crazy at all. I think, yeah, but if you're going to murder someone, that's crazy enough. Anyway, let's do a tortured sentence.
Next time, don't put the wrong emphasis on the right syllable. Tortured sentences.
If you read Nathan's story about me, that comes from that. So, at the end.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah, thanks.
So Catherine supplied this. It's a flyer for a topic in the Lunch and Learn series at a university in Alabama.
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 We all had to have a go.
Alabama.
Yeah, get that pig. Now, disciplining children. Concrete helps.
Concrete?
Yeah.
What did you throw them on the concrete or something? Bury them under concrete? Bash their head in with a piece of concrete?
With an ex-mafia godfather as the lecturer. I don't know.
Oh, man.
Drop them in the ocean.
How can concrete helps?
How can concrete help disciplining a child? Stand here for 24 hours and I'll hose it down to make sure it's nice and solid? Yeah, right.
That's just weird.
It's just so stupid anyway.
Maybe you make them lie on the concrete and go to sleep.
Speaking of tortured sentences, one thing I've always noticed is that people who have difficulty writing a sentence never know when to end one.
Real? It just goes on
you know
and
what
on
I mean?
and on.
Yeah, it's just that run-ons.
Actually, I'm an editor, and I like to cut a lot of stuff from people's like unnecessary words, etc. And I called myself the word reaper the other day.
Do you wear a cowl and have a long scythe?
Yes, sometimes.
Good.
Actually, I should have. That's my editing outfit.
Yeah. You go to the letterbox and then your neighbour's like, "Hi, Dion, editing today?" Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, now Nathan, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
I don't know anybody.
You're married. Start with a wife.
Next month, this is kind of a shout out for myself, but a shout out to somebody else too at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Next month, April, I have a new short story that'll be appearing on author Neil James's website.
Cool.
And Neil James he's a British author, and over there in the UK in England.
Yes.
And I don't know, that was the dumbest voice to use for that.
What?
So here, UK. But he writes primarily crime, but then a little bit of other things too. But he's going to be showcasing one of my short stories next month. So
cool.
Thought I'd give a shout out to him before I got off today.
Is there a website for that?
Be on his website, Neil James, NEAL, neiljames.webs.com.
Cool. There you go.
But figured I'd shout out to him today to promote him a little, but then also to promote the fact that he's going to be showcasing my shorts.
Me shorts.
He's going to be showcasing my shorts.
They don't wear shorts in the UK, I don't think. Now, Dion.
Yes.
Spruik away.
Oh, okay. Well, readers, if you like to get great deals on awesome ebooks, sign up to Booktastic. It's got a K on the end. BOOKTASTIK.com. And if you're an author, we only charge $5 or $10 to feature your ebook that's on sale or your new release, but it has to be edited. Otherwise, we won't feature it.
There you go. There's your disclaimer. Well, thanks for co-hosting.
That's all right. It was lots of fun.
And Catherine's got a shout out here, even though she's not here. It says, pitch your book to agents and editors at Picturama on March 28th in San Francisco. And there's a long website that I'm not going to read out. It'll be in the show notes. Picturama. Roasterama. Oh, no, that's going to be weird, isn't it? Picture book.
Picture book. Picture book.
No. All right. Well, that'll do it for this week. I don't know who's on next week because that's not my domain. But there'll be someone. We'll be here.
There'll be somebody.
Yeah. I'll be here. Catherine should be here. If not, I'll just rope Dion in again.
Yeah. I can do a voice if you don't have any guests.
Yeah, that'd be fine. British voice. All right. So until next week. See you then.
Bye.
I can't do this voice in person because I look like an idiot when I do it.